In my last video, we talked about the origins of the Metroidvania genre, the Metroid part. This time, we're gonna talk about the Vania.
Ah yes, Transylvania, home sweet home. I would love to discuss it.
No. The Vania here is Castlevania. While Metroid built the framework of what Metroidvanias would become, Castlevania adapted to the genre from its own history of platforming. So let's talk about when Castlevania went Metroidvania. It's all thanks to Symphony of the Night. Now, we can't jump right into Symphony of the Night. By rewinding the Castlevania timeline a bit, we can see how developer Konami slowly found its way to true Metroidvania design. Unlike Metroid, which started fresh, Castlevania had been around for over a decade before it shifted into the genre. Even so, the series was never a stranger to non-linear progression. Castlevania II: Simon's Quest is infamous for its obscure puzzle solutions, but the titular Simon Belmont could freely explore the overworld that connected the game's multiple mansions. The follow-up, Castlevania III: Dracula's Curse, went back to regular platforming, but embraced non-linearity in its own way. Trevor Belmont could partner up with sorceress Sifa Belnades, the pirate Grant Dynasty, and Dracula's own son Alucard. He's featured in most of this video.
Ah yes, my cousin. Alucard is a stand-up guy.
For now, you just need to know that the path through Castlevania 3 changes based on which of those three heroes you recruit. You may see different paths through the levels, or skip some stages altogether. Castlevania Rondo of Blood did the same thing. If Richter Belmont plays his cards right, he can explore some full alternate levels, and you can do it as a totally different character if you rescue Maria from her prison cell. The pieces of Metroidvania were slowly being put in place throughout these games, but Symphony of the Night brought them all together into something totally new for Castlevania fans, although it did go out of its way to trick them a few times. Symphony of the Night starts moments before Rondo of Blood ends, when you're still in control of Richter, armed with the classic whip and cross. You confront Dracula and get perhaps the most famous Castlevania line of all time.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
Then you replay Rondo's final boss fight, and you might even see young Maria again if you do poorly, like I did. By picking up with the events of the previous Castlevania game, Konami not only set up a direct sequel, but made fans feel comfortable with something familiar. But that feeling doesn't last. The moment you gain control of Alucard and enter the castle, everything feels different. You're collecting gear, you're leveling up. This is not the same Castlevania from just a few years prior. Fight through the opening hallway, and you'll come to an entrance chamber with multiple paths. Up top is a hole you can't reach, down below is an impassable gate with a tantalizing item on the other side. Right off the bat, it's clear that there's more to this game than just platforming. Once you find the correct path forward, you'll be face to face with Death, who immediately steals all of Alucard's personal gear. This power drain, as it's come to be called over the years, is a key part of Metroidvania's sequels, but Symphony of the Night takes it one step further. You're already in unfamiliar territory, and it's clear the level design won't just let you run to the right side of the screen like previous Castlevanias. On top of that, Death has taken all your toys, robbing you of the one bit of security you did have.
One time in Monster College, Death took all my clothes while I was taking a shower. He can be such a dick sometimes.
Thankfully, you can start stocking up on new gear pretty quickly. Just after meeting Death, you'll pick up the Cube of Zoe, the first of Symphony of the Night's relics, a specific item type that we'll be talking about quite a lot. It's extremely useful, as it causes candlesticks and other breakable objects to drop hearts and subweapons. Even after Death steals all your supplies, Konami makes sure to give you a sense of hope. Items falling from candles is a signature Castlevania mechanic, and the familiarity again makes this new adventure feel less foreign. The cube also leads us to the first major component of Metroidvanias, power-ups. In my Metroid video, I placed these into 3 different categories, and I'm gonna do the same here. Symphony of the Night's power-ups can also be considered navigational, transactional, or optional. Let's recap what I mean by those and break down what this game has to offer. Navigational power-ups are ones that affect Alucard's movement on screen. As is the case with most Metroidvanias, these usually increase his verticality. The Leap Stone gives him a double jump, and he can freely fly around once he learns to transform into a bat. Fine, go.
I just want to say, I love bats!
Navigational power-ups like this change Alucard internally. He can also turn into a cloud of mist that moves right through gates he couldn't otherwise pass, and the handy holy symbol keeps him safe in water, letting him move through it without taking constant damage. After navigational abilities come the transactional ones. These don't affect Alucard internally, but instead have a one-to-one effect with the world around him. These are pretty straightforward, and in the case of the Jewel of Open, the name is pretty blunt too. It's a jewel that opens blue doors. Konami really dug deep for that one. Anyway, another example is the mermaid statue, which summons the ferryman to take you across the water in the underground caverns, where you'll find the aforementioned holy symbol. Then there are the 5 pieces of Vlad, which you will need to collect to unlock the final boss chamber in the reverse castle. And don't you worry, we'll be talking more about that later in the video. But first, the final power-up category, optional. As you might expect, this is the biggest one. Technically, the first one you grab, the Cube of Zoe, isn't actually needed to complete the game, but you'll definitely want it. That's the key with this category. Optional power-ups are exactly that. Non-essential items you can skip if you wish, but they are super helpful and encourage you to explore every passage of the castle. It's filled with doors and ledges you just can't reach sometimes, which makes it all the more intriguing as to what might actually be hidden over there. It could be an upgrade to your health or hearts, or it might just be one of the game's companions, which are some of my favorite optional power-ups.
I'm ready to serve, Master!
You can fight alongside a demon, fairy, ghost, living sword, or bat. We know, you like bats. Letting the demon tag along is how you'll open a secret passage in the abandoned mine, making the little devil extra useful. Now, I've only talked about a small number of Alucard's abilities so far, and that's because Symphony of the Night utilizes more than just relics when it comes to exploring the castle. The gear you pick up also gives Alucard perks. He can use either hand to carry weapons, shields, or consumable items, and he can wear headgarbs like masks and helmets, as well as cloaks, armor, and 2 accessories. I would still categorize these in the same way as the relics, but it's worth making them distinct, because relics can be toggled on or off, while gear must be equipped individually. One of the most useful pieces of gear is the Spikebreaker armor, a navigational power-up that lets Alucard walk safely through spikes, destroying them as he goes. You'll need to wear it to reach the room containing the gold ring in the Royal Chapel. The gold ring, along with the silver ring, are 2 of the most essential transactional power-ups in the whole game. Again, we'll get to it later, but you can't truly finish the game without sliding both of them on your fingers at some point. Furthermore, your Subweapons can be used in a similar manner too. The stopwatch is super handy for slowing down your enemies, but it also pulls double duty as a transactional power-up. We'll revisit this clock room later, but for now, it's worth pointing out that you can activate the stopwatch to open one of the blocked passages. Symphony of the Night takes power-ups to the next level by not just giving Alucard an arsenal across 3 categories, but by spreading them out across relics, equipment, and even sub-weapons. If exploration is the overarching theme of Metroidvanias, then increasing the number of tools at your disposal plays directly into that. Symphony also literally takes power-ups to the next level by offering upgrades for your upgrades. Let me explain. Alucard has 3 transformations: the Wolf, the Mist, and the Bat. The Wolf is only needed if you want to get 200% map completion, but it can sprint forward and clear gaps with a long jump. Find the Power of Wolf relic, and you'll be able to charge right through enemies, which is super useful for blasting through hallways filled with bad guys.
I don't use my wolf form very often myself, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Wait, what am I saying?
Mist is used for passing through gates, but you can also find relics that increase its duration and turn it into a poison cloud. Much like how the wolf can tear through enemies when charging, the poison cloud is absolutely devastating to a room full of low-level goons. Finally, the bat starts out defenseless as it flutters around. but it can learn to shoot fireballs and damage enemies with its echolocation, which you'll also need to supersonically fly through dark chambers. Really? No comment on the bat?
What?
Speaking of dark chambers, it's as good a time as any to talk about Symphony of the Night's map. First of all, it has one. While previous Castlevania games have something of an overworld that indicates each stage along your journey, Symphony has a proper grid map you can pull up at any time to figure out where in the massive castle you are. And you're definitely gonna need it. Dracula's castle has 13 different zones to explore, from the book-lined long library to the pristine marble gallery to the mechanical clock tower. The clock tower actually feels a lot like a traditional Castlevania platforming level to me. It has very few hidden chambers, and it only connects 2 other areas, so you can just move from the outer wall to the castle keep in a continuous direction. It's another small dose of familiarity for longtime Castlevania players. Konami further eases your navigation through the many rooms by distinguishing each zone. They all have different looks, of course, but you'll know you've entered a new place when you move through a silent hallway, hear a musical cue, and see the name of the area on screen. Furthermore, you can purchase a map from the Master Librarian to give you a general outline of the entire castle. But even with that, there are still tons of secrets to find. Castlevania has always featured breakable walls. The infamous wall turkey is referenced at the start of Symphony of the Night.
So vampires don't actually have refrigerators because the little light inside bothers them, so they use bricks as natural preservative for food. The more you know.
And like this pointing statue indicates, there's plenty more to find inside cracked walls. In fact, you can break through floors and ceilings to find full-on rooms and zones. You can reach the abandoned mine and catacombs by busting through purple ice in the underground caverns, for example. This is another clever spin on what's familiar. Castlevania players know to check walls for secrets, but finding entire areas on the other side is a refreshing move for Symphony of the Night. You can't just blast through the whole game knocking down castle walls, though. All of those power-ups are key to entering the gated-off areas of the map. Hashtag gated platformer, see my Metroid video for more.
Ha! I am totally tweeting that right now.
In Castlevania's case, there are plenty of literal gates you can only clear using the mist form. Roadblocks like these are essential for a Metroidvania, as they force you to take a different path until you return with the necessary tool. You simply can't see 100% of any zone the first time you visit, so as you ping-pong around the map, you'll get a sense of scale and satisfaction in finding what you need around every corner. Blocking off areas is part of the Metroidvania formula, but so are shortcuts. Alucard can warp around the castle to any of the keyhole portals he finds, and there are brick and mortar shortcuts too. Remember that item behind a wall at the beginning of the game? Loop through the underground caverns, and you'll be able to snag that health upgrade and open up a handy shortcut back to the entrance in one move. 2 birds with 1 stone, or 2 fangs with 1 bite.
I'm actually a Dampier, so no thanks for me.
So far, we've talked almost entirely about the standard castle. Now it's time to get into the real twist of Symphony of the Night. You see, when you finally make your way to the top of the keep, you'll have to face Richter in the same chamber where he fought Dracula in the prologue. Defeat him, and you'll get a false ending. Maria will be sad about the loss of her good friend, and she'll hint that there's more to the story.
So your journey is over as well then?
No, not until I learn what caused Richter's madness.
If you want to fix Richter's madness yourself, you'll need those gold and silver rings I mentioned earlier. Wear them in the clock room, and you'll open up a passage to a strange, upside-down altar below. Equip the holy goggles that you find down there, and you'll be able to see the mysterious orb controlling Richter during the fight. Destroying this frees him from the control of Shaft, the evil magician who resurrected Dracula during Rondo of Blood. It also grants you access to the Reverse Castle, perhaps the most defining twist of Symphony of the Night, and easily one of the best in all of gaming history. The Reverse Castle is the full second half of Alucard's adventure, but I also view it as the best reward in the game. If you thoroughly explore the regular castle, acquiring all the essential power-ups and freeing Richter from his enchantment, you're treated to an entire other castle, where you can freely explore with all your special moves and get that coveted 200% map completion. The Reverse Castle is almost like an entirely new game, one where the training wheels are taken off. There's no map for purchase here, You have to explore every room unguided. Checking your own map will help as you fill out each zone, but the inverted nature of the layout is a real brain wrinkler, in the best way possible. It's an opportunity for pure exploration, and again, if that's the overarching theme for Metroidvanias, then this is a textbook example. Every zone feels like a little reward in the reverse castle. What you thought you knew is quite literally turned on its head, but it's not just the layout that's changed. The themes of each zone are also inverted in fascinating ways. The catacombs, which housed a river of lava at the lowest point of the first castle, are now the floating catacombs, hovering at the structure's highest point. You can see a strange turquoise sky above you as you move through. Then there's the Necromancy Lab, an appropriately sick twist on the standard castle's Alchemy Lab. That's where you'll face the boss Beelzebub, a rather nasty hanging corpse. The bosses in the reverse castle are more nods to Castlevania history. My favorite is a 3-on-1 fight against the other heroes from Castlevania 3. Once again, a touch of familiarity helps ground Castlevania fans, especially when they've entered an entirely new castle with freeform exploration and no assistance. In fact, you'll face every boss from the original Castlevania game here, and each one rewards you with a piece of Dracula's body.
I still don't know why anyone would chop my ancestor into pieces like that. It was a different time, I guess.
These 5 relics not only boost your skills, but they also serve as transactional power-ups. Continuing the theme of inversion, they must be brought to the same clock room as the rings. You use those to open up an upside-down altar, and now you'll use the pieces of Vlad to open up that same altar in its true right-side-up form.
You have done well in making it this far. I would expect no less from the son of our master.
That leads to the final confrontation of the game, and that's where we're going to wrap things up too. Castlevania had a long history of platforming, but it played with non-linearity in several games leading up to Symphony of the Night. Symphony then broke the mold by going full Metroidvania, embracing the tenets of the genre while offering familiar sights to ease fans into this new style of gameplay. It's full of relics and other items that buff Alucard with navigational, transactional, and optional power-ups, and it takes that idea even further by offering upgrades for his signature transformations. These perks encourage players to explore every inch of Dracula's castle, searching every room for secrets and hidden passages. By thoroughly investigating, they can unlock a full second castle, leading to the game's true ending while also serving as its own reward. It's a long journey, but it's one I completely recommend. Castlevania went Metroidvania with Symphony of the Night, and the series has never looked back. But you should look back. You should play through Alucard's defining adventure, collecting those cool power-ups, seeing what the castles have to offer, and slaying Dracula for yourself.
Blah! Thank you so much for watching this video. It's one of 2 spooky ones we have planned for October. If you like what Framework is doing, definitely hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see what we've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with another spooky game.